Hey bird lovers, this is Paulette, and I've been promising a video on how to make birdie breakfast. So today we're going to do that. We're going to use some leftover wheat bread. Normally I use 1½ slices. We're going to use 1/2 to 1/4 inch slice of beet, depending on how large your beets are. 1/4 of an apple. It can be any apple. We're going to use a little bit of green cabbage, 1/2 a carrot, 2½ trees of broccoli, and about a 1/2 inch slice of sweet potato that is peeled. Birds cannot have the peeling. I've got 2 leaves of purple cabbage here. I've got 1 leaf off of the beet tops, and then I've got 1 leaf of collard green. So let's get started. We're going to chop all these up and run them in the food processor. We're going to do our carrot first because it's the toughest veggie. So we're going to cut that up pretty fine and run it first. Doesn't have to be super fine. I'm going to say at least halfway though. Then we're going to chop up the rest of these things. Keep your fingers behind the knife. Now you can keep out some large chunks if you have big birds. The largest birds I have are Quakers, and I used to keep some of these out for them because they like to eat with their feet, but they seem to drop it under the grate, so they like the birdie breakfast better and they eat it, all of it, out of their cup. So I've just been going ahead and giving them just the birdie breakfast. There's a little bit of green cabbage. Now on these broccoli, sometimes I go in here and trim these little tops off. The little birds seem to like it. If you have parakeets or finches, they really like these. So just give them a little haircut, turn it all around. And this is just going to go straight into my bowl, not into the food processor. So let's bring that in. And we'll chop the rest of this up. Now sometimes on the greens I will cut these up. The thick part you can cut up and put in the food processor. But sometimes I will go ahead and slice this up and just chop it pretty fine and let them pick through that way. If I'm in a hurry, a lot of times I go ahead and put it in the food processor. But it gets pretty small in there, so they love to pick through. The more layers, the more textures, the more colors, the more interesting it is to them. They like to pick through it and see what's in there. It's kind of like foraging for them, like the birds do in the wild. Okay, I'm just going to cut this up and put it in the food processor. Here's the stem to the collard greens. Any of the greens, collard greens, turnip greens, even dandelion greens are really good. As long as the dandelion greens are clean, pesticide free, you can you can do them too. They're all have good calcium in them, and they're just good for the birds. They're the kind of things that they would eat in the wild anyway. So there's that. Here's my celery. I just cut off of the end of my celery rather than trying to take it out of the bag and all that. It's easier. So we've got all our veggies in there. Run that. Let's have a look at it. That's still a little bit chunky. So I'm going to run it down a little bit more. Okay. This is really just like that. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to put that in our bowl. Get you a spatula and get all that out. It's all a bite for somebody. I'm going to do some rice. So I've got some brown rice here. Probably about half a cup of rice. And then I have some beans here. These are the split peas and lentils. They cook up really easy. So I do them, but I forgot. I usually run them with my veggies, and I forgot to do that. So we're going to run them with the egg. So I'll put those in the food processor. We're going to get our egg. This is 3 eggs. The egg does better if you chop it up a little bit before you put it in the food processor. So we're going to do that. Here's what that looks like. I run the wheat bread last. It gets all the egg out of the food processor. Now I normally do 1½ slices, but this is what I got left. So this is what it is. Break it up. Helps the food processor chop it up. Okay, just like that. Dump that in. Okay, I've got ½ a cup of oats. Putting that in. I've got ½ a cup of the chicken layer crumbles. Now, this has too much calcium in it for your exotic birds unless you're feeding them fresh foods every day. And I'm going to put some of that in. It just ensures for me that my birds are getting some calcium whether they eat the cuttlebone or not. And then I have some KT Exact pellets here. These are the cockatiel size, although they're really small, but I'm going to put those in there too, and they're going to help take up some of the moisture in here. That's what the oats and the bread and the pellets do, is they take up some of the moisture from the vegetables, and they allow me to leave this in the bird cage all day long. And then I take this out at night and give them back their seeds or their pellets or whatever they're eating. So there it is. This will feed, what we prepared today, will feed anywhere between 75 and 100 birds. But the cool thing about it is this will feed finches to Quakers at least. And so that works really good for me. It's something I can do. The whole room will eat it. You know, I've got a few pickies, but, you know, it's good. It's good for them. It's easy for the breeding birds to eat and turn right around and feed to their babies. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for joining me.